The second day of the games began with the heavens already shaking. The god of the universe stood on his high throne, the crowd a living ocean of voices.
"Yesterday was glorious," he said. "Today's will be greater, the first duel, forest against desert, life against drought. Let the balance be tested."
The gates groaned open. From the east the forest god entered. Every step he took left behind roots, breaking through the stone, sprouting wild flowers and thick grass. His body was powerful, broad and deep-chested, his skin the dark green of moss, his hair a tangle of vines and blossoms. Across his back he carried a great axe of living wood, its blade a sharpened leaf of steel, pulsing with sap and light. The crowd cheered, smelling the clean scent of rain and bark as he passed. From the west the desert god approached. The air around him shimmered with heat. Sand hissed under his bare feet, spiraling upward into miniature dust storms. His skin was the color of sun-baked clay, cracked in places like the earth in drought. He wore armor made from the bones of beasts long dead, and in his hand he carried a spear tipped with a shard of sunstone, glowing faintly. The closer he came, the more the flowers from the forest god's path wilted. They stopped in the center, no greeting and no smile, only a hard ancient contention between them. The god of the universe lifted his hand.
"Begin."
You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. The forest god struck first, roots ripped from the ground like serpents, snapping toward the desert god's legs. The desert god slammed the butt of his spear into the ground. A blast of scorching wind exploded outward, shredding the roots into splinters. They charged. Axe met spear. The forest god swung with the weight of falling trees. The desert god countered with the speed of blowing sand. When the forest god's axe hit the ground, oak trees burst from the cracks, reaching to grab his enemy. The desert god spun his spear in a circle. The trees withered instantly, their bark crumbling into dust. The crowd was on their feet. They fought like they had been fighting for centuries, one pouring life into the ground, the other stealing it away. The forest god tackled him to the earth. The desert god rolled, stabbing his spear into his opponent's side. Sap and blood mixed. The forest god roared, vines wrapping around the spear shaft and yanking it from the desert god's hands. The desert god answered by raising both arms. A wall of sand erupted, blinding the arena. Through the haze, he punched forward, striking the forest god across the jaw. The forest god spat blood and leaves. Then, with a burst of strength, he slammed his shoulder into the desert god's ribs, sending him skidding across the dirt. Both gods were bleeding now, and both were tired, but neither would give an inch. The desert god dove for his spear. The forest god caught him mid-run. The axe came down in a heavy arc, shattering the sunstone tip with a sound like breaking glass. The desert god froze. The forest god pressed the blade of his axe to his throat.
"It's over,"
he growled. The desert god's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. The god of the universe stood smiling slightly.
"The forest god is victorious."
The arena erupted, stamping feet, clashing weapons, voices rising like thunder. The forest god lifted his axe high, sap and blood dripping from the blade. The desert god rose to his feet, chest heaving, and without a word walked back to his gate, sand swirling in his wake. The games were truly underway. Their first fight of the day had ended in thunderous applause. The dust was still settling when the god of the universe rose from his throne. The crowd fell silent immediately. No one wanted to miss his words.
"Gods, goddesses, I must speak on something before we continue."
His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it, that kind of tone that made gods shift uncomfortably in their seats.
"Yesterday, as you know, a survey was sent out. You were asked to vote for your favorite fight of the day."
He paused, letting the anticipation build.
"And, to my disappointment, it was the moon and the sun who received the most votes."
There was a ripple of sound in the stands, a few coughs, a few guilty smiles.
"These are the heavenly games. They are not a stage for a ballroom performance, and yet you have all decided that a dance is worthy of first place."
His eyes swept the crowd. Several gods tried to look solemn but failed to hide smirks.
"You are aware, these games determine the champion of the heavens, yes. This is not the hammers incident all over again."
The crowd shifted. A few gods tried and failed to suppress grins. Everyone remembered the hammers, a long-ago match in which two contestants had apparently conspired to spend the entire fight tossing a hammer back and forth just to frustrate him. He let the silence stretch a little too long.
I would hope this is not another attempt to play with me.
Somewhere in the back, laughter bubbled up and was quickly swallowed. He said nothing more on the matter, just a measured glance across the arena, as if weighing each face. Then, very slightly, the corner of his mouth twitched, only for a second.
The next duel is not just skill against skill. This is pride against pride, power against power, a fight the heavens have been waiting for. The snake goddess versus the hunter goddess.
The crowd erupted. Some cheered for the hunter goddess, a warrior feared for her precision and relentlessness. Others roared for the snake goddess, unpredictable, cunning, and feared for what she could become. From the north gate, the hunter goddess stepped out. Her armor was sleek, layered leather reinforced with golden plates. Across her back, a long bow with silver runes. At her hips, twin hunting knives curved like crescent moons. She moved with calm, silent confidence, like she had already mapped out her opponent's defeat. From the south gate, the snake goddess appeared in her humanoid form. Her skin was dark as midnight stone, her eyes silver and sharp. Her hair was alive, a crown of black serpents hissing and writhing. She wore white robes bound with a serpent scale belt, and she walked slowly, letting the tension build. The closer she came, the more the crowd leaned forward. They stopped in the center, no smile, no greeting, just fire in their eyes. The god of the universe lifted his hand.
Begin.
The hunter goddess moved first, lightning fast. She drew her bow and loosed 3 arrows in a blur, each tipped with a different toxin, one to paralyze, one to burn, one to blind. The snake goddess swayed aside, her hair snake striking the air to swat 2 arrows down. The third grazed her arm. She hissed and smiled. She raised her hands. The ground beneath them cracked, and venomous vipers poured out like water. They slithered toward the hunter goddess, fangs bared. The hunter goddess flipped backward, loosing more arrows, each one finding a snake's head with surgical precision. But then the snake goddess stopped. Her body trembled. Her eyes turned white. The crowd knew what was coming. Her form expanded, her skin stretching, bones reshaping, white robes shredded. Her body lengthened, darkened, scales rippling into place. Her head split, then split again, until 7 enormous serpent heads towered over the arena, hissing as one. A colossal shadow fell over the hunter goddess. The hunter goddess dropped her bow. She drew both curved knives. The first head struck. The hunter goddess rolled under it and slashed deep into the neck. Black blood sprayed, sizzling where it landed. That head collapsed, leaving 6 active heads. The crowd gasped, but the snake goddess struck back instantly. 2 heads lunged from opposite sides. One smashed into the hunter goddess's ribs with bone-cracking force, flinging her several meters into the air. The other head snapped at her mid-flight. She barely twisted away, but Fangs scraped her thigh, leaving bloody grooves. She landed hard, breath knocked from her lungs. The snake goddess didn't let up. She coiled and struck again, wrapping her massive body around the hunter goddess like a python. The hunter goddess struggled for air as coils crushed around her. Her knives were pinned against her sides. The crowd was on their feet, Morningstar shouting from the stands,
Crush her.
With a scream, the hunter goddess forced one arm free, stabbing upward into the jaw of the head hovering closest to her. It reeled back. She tore herself loose, panting, armor cracked. A head lunged low. She sidestepped and slashed at its base, cutting halfway through. The snake goddess roared, tail whipping around to smash into the hunter goddess back. The impact sent her sprawling. Her left arm went numb from the shock, and she had to switch both knives to her right hand. The injured head thrashed once more before dropping limp. 5 active heads remained. The snake goddess advanced, all 5 weaving hypnotically. She spat a spray of venom. The hunter goddess blocked with her forearm plate, but the acid ate through, burning her skin beneath. She hissed in pain, clutching the arm to her side. The hunter goddess dove into the coils, cutting deep into the snake goddess's underbelly. A head lunged at her mid-swing, catching her shoulder in its jaws. Blood poured freely as it shook her like prey. Snarling, she stabbed both blades into the roof of its mouth. It dropped her, but in doing so it sealed its fate. She ripped her knives outward, severing it fully. 4 active heads remained. The snake goddess screamed, the sound shaking the mountains around the arena. The fight was chaos, venom spraying, blades flashing, sand and stone torn up from the ground. The hunter goddess leapt onto one massive coil, running along its length, knives flashing. She reached the base of another lunging head and crossed her blades in an X, pulling them apart sharply. The head dropped limp, severed clean. 3 active heads remained. From the royal stands, Morningstar gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles whitened. His eyes burned with worry and fury as the snake goddess's roars rattled the air. The god of the universe sat forward in his throne. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp, following every movement. The hunter goddess rolled away just in time as a massive head smashed into the ground where she had been. She leapt onto a fallen section of coil, sprinted toward the heads again, only for 2 to strike at once. She ducked one, but the other caught her with the force of a battering ram, sending her crashing into the arena wall. The crowd roared in shock. Some gods shouted for the fight to be stopped, others cheered louder. The snake goddess lunged, her 3 remaining heads weaving in a hypnotic rhythm. Venom sprayed across the cracked floor, burning deep holes into the stone. The hunter goddess's chest rose and fell rapidly. Her armor was cracked, her knives slippery with blood, both her own and the serpent's. But her eyes were still fierce. She made her move. As the central head lunged again, she didn't dodge. She ran toward it. At the last second, she vaulted into the air, using the spear-like fangs as footholds, and drove both knives deep into the serpent's skull. The snake goddess screamed, a sound like 1,000 storms. She reared back, all coils thrashing, trying to shake the hunter goddess loose, but the knives stayed in. 2 active heads remained. Morningstar took a half-step forward, almost as if he might leap into the arena himself. His lips moved silently. Hold on. The god of the universe raised a hand, not to stop the fight, but to still the restless crowd. His voice cut through the noise like a blade.
Finish it.
The hunter goddess twisted the knives hard, then kicked off the massive head, flipping backwards onto the ground. The colossal serpent swayed. Then the central head crashed to the floor. The rest of the heads hissed in agony, and then slowly sank down, coils collapsing in on themselves. The transformation reversed, scales retreating, bones shifting, until the snake goddess lay on the ground in her humanoid form, blood on her lips, but still breathing. The crowd erupted. Morningstar sat back slowly, his jaw tight. He didn't clap. He didn't speak. His eyes never left the snake goddess, and there was something dangerous in his stare. The kind of look that promised this wasn't over. The god of the universe stood.
What we have seen here,
He said, his voice carrying across the heavens.
is pride met with skill, cunning met with precision. Both have fought with fire and with soul, but only one stands.
He turned his gaze toward the hunter goddess.
Victory to the hunter goddess.
The arena shook with the force of the cheers. In the highest seat, Naraka leaned forward at last. He didn't cheer, he didn't clap, but his mouth curved into a slow smile.
Interesting.
He murmured to himself.
Very interesting.
The hunter goddess lifted her blades in salute. The snake goddess, still on the ground, locked eyes with her, and in that look was not defeat, but respect. The arena had been loud before, but now it was silent. Not out of boredom, out of awe. Even the wind seemed to hesitate. This was not just another fight. This was history. This was danger. From the east gate, Morningstar emerged. The air shimmered with heat, but it wasn't fire. It was presence. He wore black and crimson, a robe open at the chest, revealing armor that caught light like shards of obsidian. Behind him, his angelic wings unfurled, vast and flawless, white feathers tipped in ink-black shadow. Each step left behind a faint hum, a chord that didn't exist in mortal music, but one every soul in the heavens could feel. In his hands, no blade, no spear, but a black lyre, its strings forged from the silver hair of a fallen seraph. He plucked a note. The air trembled. A low, unholy harmony filled the arena, like a hymn sung in reverse. From the west gate came Hades, god of the underworld. The temperature dropped. A dark mist rolled in, smelling of sulfur and burnt myrrh. He wore black armor streaked with crimson cracks that glowed faintly, like lava beneath a dying crust. Behind him trailed a shadowy mantle, shifting like smoke. His eyes were red, cold, ancient, unblinking. With each step, the stone beneath his feet cracked, and black sand from the river Styx spilled into the arena. Behind him, in the shadows of the gate, demons of the underworld leaned forward, their claws gripping the bars, eyes burning with feverish anticipation. Up above, angels of war, including Gabriel himself, stood watching, hands on their swords, unable to hide their own restless energy. The god of the universe rose from his throne.
Gods, angels, demons, and all who walk between worlds, this is the duel you came for.
His eyes lingered on both men, the fallen star, the Lord of the Dead. He turned his gaze toward the east gate.
Morningstar, once the brightest of my angels, the finest voice in the choirs of heaven, the one whose melodies could move the foundations of creation itself. But you turned your song into a blade, your harmony into a weapon. Cast from the highest throne, you have walked the edges of rebellion, your music now a dirge of war. And yet,
He paused, eyes narrowing slightly.
you still make the heavens listen.
Morningstar stepped forward, he bowed. His smile was thin, knowing. The god of the universe turned to the west gate.
And here, Hades, king of the underworld, lord of the deepest shadow, keeper of the gates, no soul may pass without your word. Of all here, you command the largest kingdom, a realm without sun, without end. You are the father of darkness, the ruler of silence, and the enemy none dare face twice. Yet today, you stand here, not as ruler, but as challenger.
Hades stepped forward, he bowed. The god of the universe looked between them, the fallen angel and the Lord of the Dead.
Father of darkness, father of rebellion, neither bound by light, both crowned in shadow. The stage is yours.
He raised his hand high.
Begin.
Morningstar moved first, no rush, no frenzy. He strummed his lyre. The sound was wrong, beautiful, but wrong. It crawled under the skin, weaving through the minds of the crowd. A melody of rebellion, the same song that once rang in the golden halls of heaven before the fall. The music summoned shadows from the ground, forming into shapes, some angelic, some monstrous, swirling around Hades. Hades didn't flinch. He raised one hand, and the arena floor split. From the cracks poured molten black water, the Styx itself, hissing and steaming as it carved rivers through the ground. The dead whispered in its current. They clashed in the center. Hades' black blade, forged in the heart of Tartarus, struck like a guillotine. Morningstar's lyre became a weapon in his hands, the frame a hooked blade, the strings cutting like wire. Wings flashed. Morningstar took to the air, raining down chords that shook the bones of every being in the stands. Each note sent a shockwave through the arena, disrupting the ground, knocking debris into the Styx's dark current. Hades answered with power that felt like the end of time. Chains of the underworld shot from the cracks, tipped with the skulls of kings long dead, snapping at Morningstar in midair. A chain caught his wing, feathers tore, black and white, falling like ash. Morningstar spun midair, slicing the chain with a sweep of his lyre blade, landing hard but balanced. He struck a deep, resonant note. The sound warped into a scream, and the arena torches all died at once, leaving only moonlight and the red glow of Hades' armor. The crowd was half mad with noise now. The demons howled Hades' name. The angels, even Gabriel, leaned forward, eyes wide. Morningstar's fallen angels chanted, their voices low and rhythmic, as if calling back a time before the fall. Hades drove forward, each blow of his sword heavy enough to break stone. Morningstar met him strike for strike, his weapons singing with each block, each counter. The clash was not just sound, it was music and war in one. Then, Morningstar stepped back, plucked 3 sharp notes in quick succession. The ground beneath Hades erupted. Black roses of shadow burst upward, their thorns wrapping his legs, cutting into immortal flesh. Hades snarled and answered with a roar that shook the sky. The stick surged upward in a wave, slamming into Morningstar, driving him back across the arena floor. And still, neither yielded. The god of the universe sat forward, his eyes locked on the center. His smile was small. The arena floor was a ruin, a black water from the sticks carved deep trenches, and the smell of molten stone burned the air. Feathers floated on the surface of the dark river, some white, some black. The music from Morningstar's lyre still echoed faintly, but now it was distorted, heavier, darker, more desperate. Hades stood in the center, steam rising from the cracks in his armor where shadow thorns had cut him. His blade dripped black water, and the gold in his eyes burned brighter now like twin suns of the underworld. Morningstar circled him slowly, one wing dragging slightly from the chain's damage. His knuckles were bloody where the strings had cut into them from the force of his playing. The demons in the west stands were in a frenzy, claws digging into stone, chanting Hades' name in guttural unison. The angels of war, Gabriel among them, gripped the hilts of their swords unconsciously, their eyes darting between the two, torn between dread and awe. They moved at the same time. Hades roared, his blade swinging in a heavy arc that could split mountains. Morningstar leapt, wings beating hard, lyre blade singing with a note so sharp it cut through the roar. The clash was thunder, sparks, shadow flames. The air burned with the weight of their power. They struck again and again. No feints, no games now. Every blow was meant to end it. Hades' sword slammed into Morningstar's guard, driving him back so hard his heels carved trenches in the stone. Morningstar answered with a spinning strike, the lyre's frame catching Hades across the face, snapping off one of his horned crown points. The crowd was on their feet, screaming, roaring, angels and demons both caught in the madness of it. Hades drove his knee into Morningstar's chest, knocking the wind from him, then hooked his sword to pull the lyre from his hands. It clattered away. Morningstar's wings flared, knocking Hades back just enough to close the distance. Fists now, elbows, knees. They were no longer gods. They were fighters. Raw, bloody, breathless. Hades caught Morningstar's arm mid-strike, twisted, and slammed him into the ground. The impact cracked the arena floor, black water from the stick spilling into the fissures. He raised his sword. The end was one breath away. But Morningstar rolled, caught the flat of the blade, and with a grunt of pure defiance, shoved it aside. He surged upward, wings snapping open, and brought his lyre blade back into his grip. A final strike, fast, hard, and unrelenting, sent Hades stumbling back, his sword knocked from his grasp. Morningstar stood over him, panting, weapon raised for the last blow. Hades stayed down, but there was something wrong here. Morningstar narrowed his eyes. The god of the universe rose to his feet.
Victory to Morningstar.
The crowd erupted, some cheering, some in disbelief. Morningstar frowned, his chest heaving. He leaned closer, his voice low.
Why did you let me win?
Hades smiled, a slow, knowing smile that reached his golden eyes.
I am the god of the underworld. I do not wish to be heaven's champion. You can have it, if you wish. But thank you for challenging me. It was good to be out of the darkness, for a while.
There was no bitterness in his tone, only grace. He stood, nodded once, and with a swirl of shadow, vanished into thin air. The place where he had stood was empty, save for a faint echo of his voice in the mist.
Enjoy your win, fallen star.
Morningstar remained still for a moment, weapon lowered, the victory heavy in his hands. The demons howled in rage, shaking the iron gates of the underworld stands. The angels erupted in cheers, though some looked unsettled by the triumph of the fallen star. The god of the universe looked down at him for a long moment. His face was serious, but his eyes, they held questions.
"Morningstar, you stand victorious,"
He said at last, his voice rolling across the arena like distant thunder.
"but not untested. You have fought darkness with darkness and won. Or perhaps been allowed to win."
A ripple went through the crowd at his words. Morningstar's jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. The god of the universe leaned back slightly.
"You wear the name Fallen Star as both curse and crown. Today, you have earned the right to carry it higher. Tomorrow, we will see if you, among others, are worthy to carry it all the way to glory."
The fallen angels cheered. The demons spat. Naraka, watching from the highest seat, only smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. The god of the universe raised his hand.
"The judges will deliberate, the scores will be counted, and when the sun rises, the one who has fought with the greatest skill will face Naraka, champion of the heavens."
The god of the universe turned his gaze to the panel.
"Judges, are you ready?"
The judges exchanged glances. They knew the weight of the task before them. It would not be easy. This was no ordinary decision. It was the choice that would decide the greatest fight of the season. They nodded. They would deliberate through the night. Tomorrow they would announce the one who had earned the right to challenge Naraka. The god of the universe faced the crowd again.
"Are you ready for the final day?"
The crowd erupted. Gods, angels, and demons all shouted as one. He turned his eyes to the champion.
"And you, Naraka, are you ready to know who you will fight in tomorrow's games?"
Naraka leaned forward in his seat, a slow smile curling his lips.
I'm always ready.
He said, voice deep and confident. The god of the universe's expression showed his satisfaction.
"Then we wait,"
he said. The crowd roared again, stomping, clapping, chanting. The night ahead would be restless. The air in the heavens was electric. Tomorrow would decide everything. Day 2 was over. The god of the universe rose to his feet. His gaze swept over the arena, and then beyond it, as if looking straight into the hearts of those far beyond the stands.
"My dear people of the tales of the savannah, my tribe."
He paused, one brow raising ever so slightly.
Or perhaps I should say Savarians. Yes, someone once suggested that name, and I find it pleasing. So, my dear Savarians, Day 2 is over. We have witnessed war, we have witnessed glory, and we have witnessed the fight of the century. I have asked the heavens to cast their votes, to choose who they believe is worthy to face the great Naraka, the lion god himself, and now I ask the same of you. Go to the link in your scrolls, or as you call them, the comment section. Cast your vote. Decide who shall stand as your champion. Here are the results of the fight so far. The eagle god clashed with the dragon god, and the eagle soared victorious. The god of harvest faced the god of famine, life against decay, and the harvest triumphed. The forest god and the desert god met in ancient rivalry, and the forest endured. The snake goddess and the hunter goddess crossed blades and fangs, but the hunter stood over her victorious. And then, Morningstar and Hades, darkness against darkness, father of rebellion against father of darkness, and the fallen star rose victorious. As for the moon goddess and sun god, I will say only this: I am ignoring them. You know why. We all know why. And no, I'm not discussing it further. My Savarians, Day 3 awaits. The final day, the deciding day. The day where the champion of the heavens will rise or fall. Choose your champion.
And that, my dear Savarians, brings us to the end of yet another episode in our Mermaids, Lion People and Witches series. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. This week was dedicated to the gods, and Day 2 was nothing short of action-packed. The god himself has given you a task. Go into the comment section, find the link, and cast your vote for who will be our champion to face God's champion, Naraka, the lion god. Choose wisely. I will not say much more because I am already excited for day 3. And let me know what you think of the name Savarians in the comments below. What will happen next? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Until then, stay wild, stay curious, and stay ready for what's to come. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. A warm and heartfelt thank you to all the amazing tribe members who have chosen to join and support this incredible journey. Your belief in this channel means the world to me, and I'm so glad to have you along for the ride. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.